This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Scheist Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Mick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
And whether you are joining me for the first time, or if you're back in the saddle again...
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
That's right, and you can help out the cause by taking the new listener survey. I want to hear from you about what you like, what you don't like, so I can continue to make the show as good as possible for you. The link for the survey is up in the show notes, and it's completely anonymous. If you don't want to be anonymous, you can email me directly at badmovieswelove@thescheist.com. Another great way to help the cause is by leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It may seem unimportant, but it's the best way for other people to find the show and to give it a chance, and it really helps out independent podcasts like this one. As an added bonus, I'm going to do a giveaway. So, for everyone who leaves a review between now and the end of September, you will be entered to win a $50 gift card to a movie outlet of your choice. Whether you want that to go towards physical media like Criterion, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, whichever, or if you want a gift card to a theater chain of your choice so you can see something on the big screen, all you have to do is leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and you will be put on the Wheel of Destiny. Then I'll spin that wheel and announce the winner on the final episode of Schwartztember. But before we get to Schwartztember, Endless Summer is heating up, and my friend Stephanie is back to talk about the lava-fueled LA Nightmare. From 1997, it's Mick Jackson's Volcano. Experience the spectacle more than suspend your disbelief.
You couldn't really just leave it at kind of weeping, leaking lava because that's not very dramatic.
Give me a scientist.
It's very scientifically inaccurate.
Can you come look at this big old pool of tar we got? It's historical. There was dinosaurs that died in here.
I've got a good view from up here, and nothing bad shall happen to me because I have lots of money.
Let's get the hell out of here. Let them all die.
Just to see it burn, there's some appeal there.
Dante's Peak is clearly a better movie than Volcano. And then I'm like, wait a second, is it?
What a delicious lava flow.
The West Side is 1 million people.
There are going to be 1 million dead or homeless people if we don't evacuate. This is going to destroy everything it touches.
Stephanie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting.
It is. There was a moment when I was like planning out disaster movies for a project. And of course, this was on the list. That project never materialized, but I'm really glad to be able to have a reason to go and watch this anyway, because today you brought Volcano to the show. And this is Mick Jackson from 1997. This is the director of The Bodyguard, probably most famously. The most recent one I saw of his was Temple Grandin, which was a HBO original film with Claire Danes. And I think this was one of like the last movies he made, but he's not really like a disaster artist type of director, for lack of a better term, like a Roland Emmerich, who has done a lot of big sort of like epic disaster movies. So it's interesting to see that this exists within, the catalog of someone who doesn't really work on these kind of projects.
Yeah, when I was, looking deep into Volcano, I was like, okay, there's this director that I don't think I've ever heard of. And I looked at his list of, his filmography, and I hadn't seen anything. And this spurred me to try out The Bodyguard for the first time, which I watched 2 days ago. So that was kind of fun, something I should have probably seen, like one of those blind spots. And I enjoyed it. And so now I at least have 2 things checked off on his filmography, but it was different.
Yeah, that's like peak Kevin Costner era. That's the kind of projects that gave him the freedom to make a water world. So
Right.
I've got love for The Bodyguard just for that reason alone. I mean, it's a good movie from the early 90s that sort of represents what that era was about in a very particular way. I would still go see a Waterworld sequel, but we're not here to talk Kevin Costner. We could.
Down
We
the
could
rabbit
talk
hole.
Yeah, we could talk Kevin Costner for hours, but we're here specifically to talk about the disaster film Volcano, set in Los Angeles, of all
Yes.
places. So very familiar for me. It was a big deal at the time because of just the concept of a volcano even appearing in Los Angeles was this big idea, and it was going to take a lot of special effects, a lot of practical effects work to make it happen. And when I initially put it on, my wife was like, did I see this? I'm like, I don't know. We watched Dante's Peak. This is the same year. I'm sure you've seen it or at least know about it. And she didn't seem to really know about it. And then the movie starts with an earthquake, and she's not into earthquakes. So she's like, okay, I'm checking out. No, thank you.
Huh.
So I got to re-experience this like I was, adolescent boy again, and see Tommy Lee Jones in his heyday. And it was a lot of fun, to be honest. I mean, looking at the scores for this film, that's why it's here. This has got a 5.5 on IMDb, got a 54 Metascore. You go to Rotten Tomatoes, it gets worse. Critics score of 49, audience score of 32, which is super
Whoa.
surprising. Yes, very much not what I was expecting from the audience. And Letterboxd gave it it's got a 2.6 on Letterboxd, so that's way better than
Solid.
the audience score from Rotten Tomatoes. Brings it to a 48.4 out of 100. So I think that's well within the range of movies that we talk about here. Ultimately, I would say that this is not really a bad movie. It's just a disaster movie, and they kind of have a low bar as a whole, is maybe why this is rated as low as it is, because disaster movies sell, but the vast majority of them kind of fall within the same range. Some big incident is happening. The hero magically never gets injured or anything. He's running through bullets or lava chunks. Nothing ever hits the main character, right? So we get a lot of that in a lot of different disaster movies. And I think horror as a genre, you kind of go in knowing what the beats are, and that's why you're there in the first place, is to sort of experience the spectacle more than suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, they can be a bit formulaic, but generally when you step into them, you're ready to go along for the ride. So, and that's definitely how it is with me for this one. So I saw this in theaters. I was 10.
Yeah, me too.
So I have, a long history with this movie. And I had 2 years before that visited Mount St. Helens. And so I was super interested in volcanoes. So this one and Dante's Peak both, I was very excited for. And this one, Volcano is just fun. It takes a big swing, it takes this natural disaster that I guess is fairly common, pretty well understood, but it puts it in a completely uncommon locale, someplace that you'd never expect it to literally pop up. And that's the charm of this movie to me, is just how outrageous, outlandish, uncommon you would never expect it to happen. And that's the fun.
Well, that was kind of my question about what your relationship is to this film. So now that you've covered that, I want to ask you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're ahead of the curve. But for me, this is a movie about my hometown, my city. So I see a lot of familiar locations, some of the inside jokes about LA. I mean, some of the wink nod stuff about the developers building this gaudy building and sort of greasing palms and this kind of stuff. This is still happening now in Los Angeles. So it's, I think, very finely tuned for people sort of in the know of LA's city politics. And this was at a time where our already not great infrastructure for subway system was still being built. But since then, it's grown a little bit more. And one of the proposed stops, I think, on one of the plans was exactly at the intersection of, I think, Wilshire and La Cienega, where they divert the lava flow. So it wasn't there at the time, but since then it's like, okay, we do want to have a stop here. I'm curious for you living in, what's it, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Do you watch something like this, looking at Los Angeles as a place where obviously a lot of movies are filmed, for me living here, I can see these places and be like, oh, here's like this place has this history. This place is in the movie for this reason. This is something I recognize. Oh, this is like a little corner spot here that's very subtle. It's not really, popular in movies, but if you're in LA, you kind of know the area. So I'm curious for someone who doesn't live in the area, like, is it just fun to watch Los Angeles burn?
There's definitely that, because I don't know, you think of LA and I don't know, you think of golden living, and just to see it burn there's some appeal there. But no, I definitely, when I watch this, I think about how fun it must be to know these places. And like the last time I watched it, I literally like wrote down the intersections and pulled up maps and looked at how close these things were. And that is always fun for me when I am watching a movie that's set around either where I live or someplace that I've spent a lot of time. And I could be like, I know that street, and like, I've been to that, that attraction, and like that. So I think to myself that Volcano must be either incredibly fun to watch if you're from LA, or just like so frustrating. And I don't know enough to know which way it would go. But it is fun for me.
Yeah. And I think for me watching it, I had fun. Like, I think if you're maybe like really prone to anxiety over earthquakes, like my wife is, this is not the movie for her. She doesn't want to think about this sort of situation happening. But I think for someone who is having fun with the idea of making this movie, you really get to play around a lot with sort of the inner workings of the city politics. I mean, we obviously have the Office of Emergency Management, which I don't know if it's real or not. I've never seen anybody wearing that jacket. And it seems like a weird thing to have an official specifically for that who only has powers in case of the most extreme emergency. But I don't think anybody before this movie had ever heard of such a thing. So I don't know if it's real or not, but
I was intending to look it up because I was wondering that when I was watching it, and I was also wondering, like, they make it seem like the chief of police is either his boss or somebody that he, feels the need to answer to in some way. And I was like, okay, is the OEM real? And if it is it under the chief of police? Like, how would that fall? And it was, there was a lot going on that I never actually looked up. So,
yeah.
Boo on me for my preparation.
Well, it is a real thing. It says the Office of Emergency Management has the responsibility of comprehensively planning for, responding to, and recovering from large-scale emergencies and disasters that impact Los Angeles County. So I think what we get here with Tommy Lee Jones is a guy who, he's kind of like a cop, but in the context of other films, he's more of like the town sheriff, where other higher ranking officials that are like more directly associated with government roles, like the chief of police, like the fire captain, like the mayor, those people all sort of look down on him for just being like the sheriff guy who handles emergencies. And so they don't really like look at him like a peer. They kind of treat him like shit. And even when things are going bad, they kind of stand in his way, trying to prevent him from being able to do the thing that he is empowered to do. Because when shit hits the fan, the movie tells us that Tommy Lee Jones is like the most powerful politician in the city, or the most powerful official in the city at that point, because he can literally tell all the other departments what to do. And I'm sure the chief of police doesn't like that. I'm sure the mayor does not like that. I'm sure the fire chief doesn't like that. So they're sort of like stripped of their authority, and I don't know, call it them being emasculated, right? We get, I think it's the police chief in this. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is like this weird little throwaway moment where they're sort of out at the park. He needs to talk to the press, and this dude is super bald, and he is going to like speak on camera, and he stops at one of the cars and like checks his hair in the mirror, but it's like, you don't have hair. But it's like, this character is so vain that that's who he is, where he's going to go on camera and he's like, I got to work my tiny little comb over to make sure it looks good. And that's the kind
that feels very LA to me.
It does. It was very accurate. So I think that's why I took note of it, and that I'm like, I could totally see this guy existing.
And that's funny because I've probably watched this movie 50 times, never clocked that moment. So, but now that you say it, I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I never know what's going to stand out to me when I watch a movie. I probably should be paying attention to the plot, but instead I'm like, comb over guy checking his non-existent hair. That's suspect.
That's why you need to watch a movie over and over and over again, man. There's value in the rewatch.
Yeah, well, I did that last night too with Don't Worry, Darling, which I'll be recording on later today.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, and I think it's probably the newest movie that I've ever done on this show. So I got to sit there and I was like, I watched it recently, and now really I'm just like asking myself a lot of questions. My notes are all questions that don't have answers. So it'll be very interesting to talk about that with somebody else and see their opinion on it. But for Volcano, I mean, obviously the plot is kind of in the title, or if you look at the tagline, the coast is toast.
Lovely. Best tagline ever. It's so good. It perfectly expresses like the fact that this is supposed to be fun and funny and don't take it too seriously, but also super exciting. And also that kind of like, haha, we're going to watch LA burn thing. You know, it's all good.
Yeah. If this movie were remade today, what, 27 years later, almost 30 years. Jesus.
Feels so old.
Yeah, I know. But it is what it is. If it were made today, I think that tagline would be the coast is avocado toast, because that's much more Los Angeles than what we get from this like 90s version of it. But for the people out there listening, do you want to take a stab at the synopsis haiku?
Oh, goodness. Yes. So much fun. I enjoyed this. All right, let's see. Quakes and much lava. Burning incredulous folk. Long day in LA.
It's a very long day in LA. This movie feels like it goes on for a week, even though it's only like half of a day. I think maybe it like goes into the next morning. It starts in the afternoon, ends the following morning, something like that. But yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Spot on. Well done.
Thank you. I had a second one if you want to hear it.
A second haiku, or is this the limerick?
I do have a second haiku and then the limerick.
Oh, go for it, please.
Okay, second haiku. City of Angels battles some surprise lava. Science optional.
Yeah, I mean, they do. I think he screams at one point, like, "Give me a scientist." Like, not a geologist, not a volcano expert, just a scientist of any kind will do in this emergency. For some reason, apparently LA City or LA County has no scientists on staff, and we need to outsource this to somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah. It's I mean, you know, but it's kind of refreshing to see somebody in a crisis yell, "I need a scientist." It feels like that's a 90s thing that maybe wouldn't happen today.
Yeah, probably not. The bureaucrats would get stuck trying to figure this out. And who is it? The guy who's like the metro chief?
Yes.
He would probably be dicking all of this stuff around. Just look, my tunnels and my trains. Don't let them.
Where's the tunnel trains?
That was awesome. I'm so glad that you not only took the time to come up with the haiku, but actually like put in the effort and really enjoyed doing it. It's something that we've folded in here at the show recently. So I always come up with a backup one just in case. And since you already gave me two, I feel like I need to step up to the plate and take a swing, even if I strike out. So
yeah, let's do it.
I said, the ground starts to shake. Don't be fooled. That is not a quake. Lava in LA.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like the rhyme too. That's why I had to go roll into a limerick, because I was feeling the need to rhyme.
Okay. So you've teased the limerick. Let's hear it.
All right. Let me clear my throat, make sure I'm all prepared. There once was a quake in LA that brought a volcano to stay. So Tommy and Ann came up with a plan to reroute the lava away.
Okay, that's really good. I feel like all movies should be summarized in a limerick or haiku or poem at this point because, I read some of the plot synopsis for these and it's like, look, how long do you want to spend on this, especially for a movie like Volcano?
All right, this may be a new thing that I'll be doing on my Letterboxd. You never know. It was just incredibly fun. So
It is. I mean, it helps me also just like flex a particular muscle that, they teach us a lot when we're in journalism school, which is like just strip everything down and be as simple and straightforward as possible. And like, hey, you're limited to total 17 syllables. Explain this movie in 17 syllables. That's a challenge, but
yeah,
I think when it works well and it's fun. So I hope the audience likes it. Nobody's complained so far. And as long as the guests like doing it, I'm all for it.
yeah.
All right. Well, I know that you like the movie. I know that I like the movie. Why do you think someone would say that this is a bad movie?
Well, like I said in the haiku, science optional. It's very scientifically inaccurate, which doesn't bother me personally. But I can see where it would bother someone, especially if they have a background in any sort of geology. Um, but it also comes up. It leads to some pretty funny moments, in my opinion. Like my favorite, it could never happen detail is when John Carroll Lynch melts into the lava. And he almost has he has his hand up. It's almost like a Terminator in T2 kind of moment, which is just, it was perfect. But no, it could never happen. And not just details though, like the entire premise is not possible. but like I said, I'm always willing to go along for the ride. It doesn't bother me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have Heche explaining that, hey, there's these fissures that come when the tectonic plates move, right? Sometimes there's an earthquake, sometimes they just leave a big gap and start emitting the center of the earth, apparently. So okay, I'm buying into that a little bit, but why the volcano? Wouldn't it just leak lava at that point? Does there actually have to be a volcano? Could the movie not just be called magma or lava? Because we don't get a gigantic volcano in the movie, right? We get a tiny little baby volcano at the end.
Well, I mean, there's sort of two different kinds of volcanoes. There's the big explosion, Mount St. Helens, and then there's lava constantly spewing out, kind of creeping along, kind of volcano like Hawaii and Iceland.
Yeah.
So this is more the latter. But they do try to make it seem like it's going to be this huge deal by mentioning, the power of the Mount St. Helens explosion. And do you think this is anywhere near that yet? But yeah, I mean, you couldn't really just leave it at kind of weeping, leaking lava because that's not very dramatic. You got to put the city in a lot of peril.
Yeah, I understand that. And, we actually went to the volcano park in Hawaii on the Big Island, which when you walk in, there's just steam constantly coming out of the ground. You can feel the heat, you can smell it. And then when you go to the actual crater trail, there's just a gigantic crater. There's no mound or anything. But if you look all the way in there, you can see that it is spewing. And I think that last time we went, we flew and then we landed and people are like, are you okay? Are you okay? And what happened? Oh, the volcano erupted. And so it's just kind of strange to see what we sort of imagine as volcanoes, like Pompeii, Mount St. Helens, Vesuvius. And then we get something like this where it's okay, maybe this is not that kind of volcano. But then by the end of the movie, it's okay, but it is that kind of volcano. And I'm looking at the poster and I see a mountain volcano beginning to come up out of the ground here at the La Brea Tar Pits or wherever that was. But yeah, the La Brea Tar Pits are, I mean, it's kind of a weird anomaly of this sightseeing thing to do in LA. It's hey, you come look at this big old pool of tar we got. It's historical. There was dinosaurs that died in here.
I know. I mean, I read the Wikipedia and all that, because it is kind of interesting. And, those kinds of things, they pop up where they pop up. Cities may be built around them, but they're still there. I don't know, you know?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the trailer and we'll see. I mean, I got a pretty good idea of what this movie is gonna like sell itself as, but I don't remember the trailer from my youth, so I will open myself up to the possibility of this being a little bit different than I expect. Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from today's sponsor. If there's one thing humanity has learned over the millennia, it's that there's no stopping nature. That's why when Mother Nature gives you lemons in the form of a volcano, you grow a lemon tree in volcanic soil, harvest the lemons, make lemonade, and then sell it at Wilshire Volcanic Organic, LA's first and only fully organic farm grown entirely in volcanic soil. You might not know it, but volcanic soil is among the most fertile soil on Earth because after lava cools, it leaves behind incredibly mineral-rich rock that weathers down into the soil and also offers better drainage so your plants won't drown from overwatering. And Wilshire Volcanic Organic signed a deal with the city to harvest all that rock and set up shop. Imagine having vegetables from all around the globe and a variety of climates all growing in perfect harmony and having the richest natural mineral profile on the planet. Now stop imagining and head down to Wilshire Volcanic Organic where you'll get just that. They've also got organic volcanic sea salt made from volcanic charcoal that comes from the lava overflow into the Pacific Ocean. At Wilshire Volcanic Organic, it's not just the best of both worlds, it's the best of the whole world. And now, back to the show. All right, let's fire away.
Good morning, Southern California. We're heading for a high of 75 degrees.
Didn't take long to get our first Zig alert this morning.
This morning's shaker surprised all of us here in the Fox 11 newsroom.
This was a small to moderate earthquake.
Epicenter magnitude is in for a 10-5.
That's very LA. We're gambling on what the epicenter is.
If a dam breaks and the mayor calls, I don't want you telling O'Rourke went fishing.
Okay, we don't pull her off the slopes for even a 4.9.
Gas explosion in the MacArthur
See, they
Park
gave Tommy
area.
Lee like this big office to work out of, but then they treat him like shit.
They hit a steam pipe and got scalded. Steam did that?
Steam doesn't chart tissue like this. Methane?
They didn't want to show us that melted foot.
We got a problem. Number 4 trend westbound. Temperature on board reads 20 degrees above normal.
That lake was 62 degrees yesterday. Today it's up to 68.
That's a sunny
It
day.
is kind of weird to think that a subway is like a big plot
What is a
point
geological event?
of a movie in Los Angeles.
Mike, come in. What's going on?
It's tremendous heat. This is no good. Get out of here. Get off the train. Get off the train.
Please do not leave your home.
Somebody tell me what the hell is going on.
There's got to be something feeding this. When it hits black, it's gonna punch through.
You mean it rough?
Yeah. It's just
The lava bombs.
Lots of lava bombs.
It's going crazy. The fire's popping off all over the city.
The west side is 1 million people.
There are gonna be 1 million dead people if we don't evacuate. When Mount St. Helens blew, the force was greater than the Hiroshima bomb.
Listen up,
She's
let me
right.
tell you what's south of us. No more museums, no more department stores, just homes.
Moses couldn't reroute this. It's everywhere.
Just not enough homes. I need a demolitions team. Everybody out!
What's the point of being Moses if you can't part the ocean of lava?
Exactly.
You don't like my plan? That's good. Give me another plan, but don't tell me we're backing out. We're gonna take this thing to the ocean.
In a city where anything can
You
happen.
got trailer guy.
In a
April
city.
25th. It will.
Please stay calm.
That was
Please.
pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, it sells exactly what you would expect it to sell. You know that it's going to be Tommy Lee Jones doing kind of police work, but, you know, not exactly. And what I did like was, so, you know, we were talking about LA specific things, and there is this billboard that they show here in the trailer that sort of gets ignited on top of the building, catches fire. And I can never remember her name, but she was like an LA icon, this blonde, sort of like big boobed starlet. I don't think she ever did anything though. Not at least in my lifetime.
The
She
first ever influencer.
maybe she was just known for driving around Los Angeles in a pink Corvette. And so I don't know if she was like a stripper or something, but we would see her every now and then driving around. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. She had a fairly new Corvette, but I don't know if she's still alive. And I think it was like Brangeline or something like that. I'll have to look that up. But seeing that little tidbit in like a mid 90s movie, I'm like, yeah, that's very specific to Los Angeles and kind of like an inside joke that only people from Los Angeles would actually understand about this film.
Yeah, the other LA thing is I guess like all of the news people were real news people is something I read. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're right.
But I thought that would be super cool if I had if I had known that. I thought the sort of interjection of the newscasts were kind of a fun, I don't know, a fun little detail thrown into the movie. And like the fact that they used real news people seems like that would have been extra cool if I were from LA.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the person that I most readily recognized was Harvey Levin from TMZ, who you hear his voice very prominently sort of down the stretch of this. And I'm sitting there on the couch with my wife. I'm like, the TMZ guy, like the guy. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, have you never watched TMZ? So I was like, OK, I'll look it up and shortcut it. But the influencer, the pink Corvette, her name was Angeline. And like this Vanity Fair article says, billed as the original influencer, Angeline has had an unusual path to fame chronicled in a new Peacock series that embraces the fact and fiction at hand. So I'll put up the link for this article in the show notes, just in case anybody is curious, because it's a very strange story. But yeah, I used to see her on the freeway driving around all the time, and she has a great collection of Corvettes that are all very noticeably like Barbie colored pink. So it's like you can't miss her. And a lot of them were convertibles, too. So it's like you just see like the blonde hair and the Corvette driving by and you're like, oh, that's her. I don't know what she does. Like, that's just her brand, maybe. It's kind of interesting. Like maybe spend some money, take out a billboard, and then like your whole day is just driving around Los Angeles in the pink Corvette and making people, sort of recognize it, because it was really like the only one that you would see.
Hey, that's innovation. Innovation pays, man.
Smart. I know. I kind of want to check out that Peacock series now, though. I mean, that article that I was just quoting from was in 2022. So I guess it's been around for a little while, and I'm surprised that I haven't heard more about it, just at least within, circles from my Angelino friends, which don't have that many. I realize a lot of people, especially I know in like the social media circles, are either on the East Coast or at closest Central Time. So I was like, where are all the people that are like LA film fans? Like, I'm sort of active on social media later at night and early in the morning, but during like the whole middle of the day is when like the East Coast is alive and well on social media. So I miss all of that. And then like, I don't know anybody that's awake later in the evening when I'm actually like able to sit down and engage. So yeah, well, I'm glad to have met so many people from the other side of the country, and we are tentatively going to Nashville at some point. I know Scott's in Nashville, and I think like I have an old friend in Nashville too. So it's like that's probably as close as I'm going to get. Well, how about we get into some trivia right now, though?
I do love trivia.
Time for trivia. Okay, so as you had mentioned, there is a lot of real life reporters who are included in this movie. Probably more than you would think. How many in total?
26.
That's a high number.
That is a high number.
But it's not as high as the amount of actual reporters in this movie, which is 45.
Oh, man.
Which I think is very interesting in that that's also very LA in that like every reporter in LA, they're like, do you want to be in this movie? They're like, yes.
And they had reporters speaking every different language, too,
Mm-hmm. Jillian Barberie, who was very famous on Fox, back in the 90s. This was her first movie, I think, her first like screen credit. So, the list is very extensive. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Is like staggeringly extensive. And I only recognize Levin. I thought I heard Fred Rogan's voice too, but let me see if I recognize anybody. Terry Anzur, Jillian Barbary. So many names I don't recognize, but Takayuki Yamaguchi, Michael Villani, Peter Trunk, Shepard Smith. Okay. Yeah, there's an endless amount because you do have sort of the cross chatter of all the different reporters doing their different reports in different languages. And I think on the one hand, like it's sort of low hanging fruit in that LA is a huge media market. You can go ahead and reach out to all of the news stations and be like, hey, do you want to be involved in this project? We'll give you screen credit. You get to come on, record a little bit. It'll be fun. That's one side of it. The other side of it is that LA is a very multinational city. And the reason it's such a big media market is because we have like, hey, here's Chinatown, Koreatown, Little Tokyo. There's so many different sort of regional media markets within the Los Angeles market that this actually represents it in probably a smarter way than this movie actually intended. But I'm going to give it a little bit of grace there and say that this actually does a pretty good service job for representing like LA media as a whole. It is a little like, hey, Harvey Levin is the main voice down the stretch. And it's like he goes on to make TMZ. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of like a TMZ event where he's out in the streets. Los Angeles is burning. And he's giving us the whole spiel along the way and really making it like this media event because we're not always with the characters. We're sort of like pulled back every now and then. And that we're just observing it as a third party, which kind of like goes back to people everywhere else in the country or around the world watching this, looking at it like, oh, we're all observing Los Angeles versus being within Los Angeles and seeing this happening.
Exactly. Yeah, that sort of a big overview and feeling like you're part of the story because you're watching it just like everybody else in the city who can't believe it is watching it. I thought the news story about the vets helping the pets was that felt very true to me. Like that would be something that a news station would shoot on in a little 30 seconds between, lava spewing. Got to get that human interest story in.
Yeah, and there's probably like, if we looked hard enough, there's probably like a dedicated animal news channel. And I mean, there's like a bunch of like rescue facilities all over the city as well, too. So, of course, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if you know the show Vanderpump Rules. It is a like trashy reality show. My wife loves it. But one of the people owns like a dog rescue place that's out. I don't know if it's on Wilshire on Melrose, I think, but we stopped in one day and visited. So it's like the combination of sort of like influencer celebrity culture then crossing over into like animal rescue. And there would be coverage, I think, of something like that with animal shelters that had to get evacuated during something like this. But let's move on to question number 2. The acronym SIGS is hilarious and is short for the California Institute of Geological Sciences. However, it's a fictional agency that is meant to represent which real life organization?
Oh, man, I read this and I cannot remember what it is. If you had asked me what the acronym SIGS stood for, I could tell you that. But this one, I'm going to fail.
It's pretty close. It is CISN, CISN, the California Integrated Seismic Network. Honestly, SIGS is way better.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, they should just adopt that after this movie came out. But I wrote down, I was like, this somehow sounds more fake than the one that they put in the movie. But it is a real thing. We do actually have an integrated earthquake network because obviously earthquakes are going to kick our ass one day sooner rather than later. We've had some big ones that I've lived through as well. And a lot of our infrastructure is based around certain coding of buildings so that you are like earthquake safe. There's a lot of like seismic retrofitting as well in the LA area because like a place like I live in here in our townhome, it's called like a soft story where the bottom is underground and it's like held up by pillars. So if a bad earthquake happens and those pillars snap, like everything is going to collapse. So they do seismic retrofitting of those types of buildings. I mean, this place was built in the 80s, so hopefully there's enough like earthquake history that like we're up to code, but who knows?
Well, I wish you good luck. No wonder your wife doesn't like earthquakes.
I know, right? So anyway, question 3. There was a miniature set of parts of Los Angeles that were constructed to be destroyed by the lava flow in this movie. But the miniatures were not constructed on a soundstage. Where were they housed?
This is another one that I feel like I know somewhere in the back of my mind, but there's no way I'm going to be able to pull it out. So, yeah. Hit me with it.
They made these, they built them in the San Bernardino airport in the vacant hangar in the airport. And San Bernardino's not exactly like LA City, so it's not like super close. You got to drive maybe like an hour and some change outside the city to get to San Bernardino. But look, there's an airport there, there's space. We can create fake molten lava and burn everything. So yeah, let's go for it.
Sure, why not? An airplane hangar sounds like big open space. Seems like that's what you need.
Exactly what you need. Yeah, so, that concludes our official trivia, but I love the bonus trivia section of the show as well, because this is just other things that I find interesting that I can't really form into questions. Sure. And one of them, I guess the most prominent one, was the first thing that I noticed that I actually then found a sort of like trivia tidbit about, which was there's a scene where the subway is kind of like back active. Obviously, the metro guy is like, this underground lava is not an issue for my trains. There's so much concrete down there. Who cares? The conductor for the train is just like a young guy, and he's reading a book called Writing Screenplays That Sell. Very Los Angeles too. Just the dude that drives the train is like, I'm gonna be a filmmaker one day, right? And the book is written by Michael Heche, I believe is the pronunciation, but Michael Heche is not involved in this film. He did not contribute to the screenplay. And guess what? He has 0 screenplay credits to his name.
That feels very LA too.
That is hilarious. It's a very inside joke in that, like, yeah, you're taking advice from a guy who's never like actually had a screenplay made. I'm sure he's written some, but when you talk about screenplays that sell, I don't see his name having any screenplay credits. There's some TV stuff, yes. So, I mean, maybe a little bit. Those are like teleplays, though, not screenplays. So anyway, I found that funny. But we also get this weird dynamic between Chief Sindelar, I think his name is, and Mike. And the chief is just like this voice on the phone. We never see his face. I don't even know if we really ever hear his voice that well, but he's always on the phone wanting to talk to Mike. And Mike never talks to him throughout the course of the entire film.
Even when he has the phone in his hand, he turns it around and thrusts it at his number 2 in command and says, you deal with it. I love it.
Hey, look, sometimes you have to delegate tasks that you don't want to deal with. And Mike is very good at that.
Police, I wouldn't want to talk to that guy. He's screaming through the whole movie.
He is. Yeah, he doesn't handle things with very much tact. So I understand why Mike is not a fan of this guy. And apparently he doesn't answer to him anyway. So he gets away with just, I'm not going to be talking to you at all. But it is interesting that like he's just completely off screen as like this presence, like kind of like an ominous presence too. But we never see his face. We never meet him. There's never a showdown between them.
Do you know who that was? And if it was somebody that like is a somebody?
The voice actor for Sindelar? I don't know.
I mean, because his voice wasn't something that I, was like, oh my God, I know that guy. But it would have been kind of funny if it was somebody like really recognizable, really big name. Because they do throw a number of big name people into small roles in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the cast is amazing. I think that's one of the strengths of this movie is that the cast doesn't really pull back. I mean, it's Tommy, it's Ann. You got Don Cheadle as his right-hand man. You had mentioned, why can I not think of his name?
John Carroll Lynch.
Yes, John Carroll Lynch. Thank you. John Corbett, obviously from
Yep.
Sex and the City fame. Michael Rispoli is just like a firefighter that dies. Keith David is just like a cop that's out on the street. You really do have a pretty good, probably top 10 cast. Like if you're looking at like, here's our sort of our fundamental base for the movie that we're making, and you gave me all these names, I would be like, yeah, I'm on board with this. Plus a very young Gaby Hoffman, who we had also just watched on the Netflix show Eric. And I asked my wife, like, do you recognize her? And she's like, who's that? I'm like, that's Gaby Hoffman, who we just saw in the show that we were watching last night. And he's like, oh my God, I thought that was like her daughter or something. I was like, no, this was 30 years ago. It's just time.
Yeah, so Keith David, I think he's extremely underutilized in this movie, but at the same time, he delivers like one of the funniest lines when all the K-rails show up and they're bemoaning the fact that there are so few of them, and the guy who drove the truck is like, well, "What are you blaming me for?" And Keith David just goes, "Convenience, okay?"
Yeah, yeah. Keith is great. I wish he got more opportunity during this time where it's like he was in his sort of like youth and his like physical prime, and he could have very much been a leading man during the 90s. And he's got a couple leading roles here and there throughout some of them, but he is very underutilized in this, and it's a shame, but I'm glad he's here. The voice for Chief Sindelar is Darnell Suttles, who it looks like he's mostly a voice actor. He was one of the voices of the Monstars in Space Jam. And it looks like he's done some TV work as well. So not somebody that's like a big name, but somebody who works a lot, at least.
It makes sense to go for a voice actor for a voice role. They feel like they don't do that very much anymore. Now it has to be a recognizable voice.
Yep. Now all movies will be voiced by Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I know part of me was like, I kind of want to just bring on the show like a personality question of your Chris rankings.
I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, that's fair. We don't have to introduce that in this episode. I've just been thinking about it because I was like, it'd be an interesting peek into sort of like people's preference to look at like how you rank your Chris's. But back to the bonus trivia, one of the things that I kind of like, I noticed it and then it was confirmed by the trivia was that the ash is shredded newspaper.
Yeah, I read
which
that.
I was like, I feel like I can read it when it's falling. I was like, it's very noticeably newspaper, I think. And turns out, yes, indeed, it was lots and lots of ground up old newspaper.
Yeah, I mean, shades of gray is what you need for ash. So newspapers, it's built right in.
Yeah, and they made the lava was made of methyl cellulose, which is what you're going to drink if you have a milkshake. So, I mean, there's just milkshakes all over Los Angeles.
What a delicious lava flow.
It's a little spicy, but it's tasty. I want to ask you, who would you be able to envision playing Mike other than Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I feel like he just nails it. I did read in the trivia like a couple people that were considered for it, and I couldn't fathom any of them doing it. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Probably someone like Sylvester Stallone would be the closest for me, but maybe I'm just like projecting off of Daylight, which I also love. Another good disaster movie.
Yeah,
but,
very much so.
Yeah, I'll go with Sly.
Yeah, it was offered, I think, initially to Ed Harris and Bill Pullman, who turned it down. And if I read correctly, Bruce Willis was offered as well. So a lot of other big name actors that sort of fill particular types of roles. Like Ed Harris is kind of always in, I don't want to say like a dad role, but he kind of always is. Like he always sort of plays like a fatherly figure, even when he's not a father. And like, I don't know if Ed Harris is just always like I never saw Ed Harris really as a young man. Like the first time I ever saw him, he's probably in his mid-30s. So my experience with him is like he's always in dad mode.
Yeah, I think even when he was a lot younger, he didn't seem it. I don't know. Something about him. Mature personality, will go with that.
Yeah, exactly. He's just got like dad energy.
He does, and at first I was going to be like, no, I disagree with you. But then I started thinking, like, I was thinking about his character in The Abyss, and he is even sort of like a daddish figure to the guys on his crew. And he's very protective of them. And yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But I do think Tommy is a good fit for this. And I think especially if you pair it with something like Dante's Peak, and that's essentially James Bond.
Right.
That's in the middle of him doing James Bond, I think, because I think GoldenEye's 95. And then the last of his Bond movies is like 99 or 2000. So this is Pierce Brosnan at like peak American popularity with Linda Hamilton, who's coming off of Terminator from a couple of years before. There's like 5 years since T2 after that. So she's probably at the height of her popularity as well. And I think we get a very good supporting cast in that film as well. Not quite as
lesser known, but
yeah, exactly.
Well done.
So using that as sort of like a comparable film here, like Tommy Lee Jones plays the basically single father here, right? And Pierce is coming in as like hero stepdad to the single mom.
Yeah.
And so they're very different like character dynamics, and you kind of need Tommy to be the kind of guy that he is in this. And I think one of the interesting things I found about his character very early on is that he is like very desperate to have answers and to get a scientist on board. And he really wants to understand what's going on. And then Anne Heche shows up and she's the scientist, and he's like, thank you so much for coming. I really need your input. And then she explains it to him, and he's like, stupid woman. And like, she can't possibly know anything about science. And I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, how did he become so dismissive after being so desperate for help in such a short period of time? Like, she tells you what's going on and you're just like, whatever, the water got a little warmer. And it's like, did she just explain to you that you can't heat 1 million gallons of water in a couple of hours like that? Are you not listening? You begged for her advice. You needed help, and she gives you help, and you're just like, whatever. And then they're like flirting with each other. She goes to her friend. He's like, oh, he's kind of cute in like a weird dadly kind of way. And it's just very odd.
That whole, it felt like they were trying to shoehorn in some sort of romance, and it totally didn't fit. But I'm glad that they left it to just like those two offhand comments. I think he likes you. Oh, you like him. And like a side hug in the end, and just like let that be it. Because I felt like their chemistry was so much better as like two humans from different disciplines working together towards a common goal. And I thought they did that so well. But like, I don't know. I mean, like when they were trying to like make it there had to be romance and love and interest, and I don't know. It was too much.
It's still the 90s. You still need a blonde lady to be the primary love interest in like a studio motion picture. So it's like, okay, we got to go this route. But yeah, I mean, like she has agency, and she actually is much more capable than probably Tommy even is, because he knows what's happening. Like the scene where there's sort of lava like flowing underground, and she like takes a look at it, and then she starts like just doing the math all of a sudden. And I'm like, what is she calculating? She's like, the speed of the lava flow, just whipping up numbers on her computer, and like, hey, what's the distance between these 2 points? Tommy's like, I don't fucking know. Like, it's like, wait a second, this is your job to know. What are you doing?
And she's just like, yes. And I'm going to like base all my extremely specific calculations on this. And there's a lot riding on it. So guess. Yeah, that's very, very real. Sure.
I'm glad that she was well written enough to like push back against him, though, not to just fold when he questions her, when he pressures her. Like she gives him shit when he's being an asshole and being stupid. So like, her character is much better written than probably a lot of other characters would be. I mean, you look at Linda Hamilton's character. It's like she's the mayor of this town in Dante's Peak, but she's still kind of like the damsel that needs...
Yeah, she's kind of passive.
Yeah, she still needs Pierce to come in here and like, fight the volcano with his chest hair and his handsomeness. So, and I didn't realize, thinking about those two movies, I'm like, well, Dante's Peak is clearly a better movie than Volcano. And then I'm like, wait a second, is it? And then I look at some of the ratings and I'm like, is it worse than Volcano? Is that possible?
Oh my gosh. So I love them both. I don't know if I love them equally, but I think it depends on my mood, which one I prefer. But I tend to watch them in pairs because like I'll be in the mood for Volcano and then I'm like, yeah, let's do some Volcano stuff. And so then I'll turn on Dante's Peak and like they're completely opposites and like the things that they're trying to do. And like Dante's Peak was like very clear about wanting to be fairly scientifically accurate.
Yeah.
And Volcano was very obvious about throwing that out and just having fun with it. And they're both fun and they're both super entertaining and good casts. And I loved them both. And it was kind of fun back then how they would release all these movies in pairs that were very much competing with each other. It seemed like it happened a lot around that time period, like with Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Those were right near each other too.
Yeah, and I think it was a year after this. So interesting that I think those two in Armageddon and Deep Impact is actually a very good comparison for Volcano and Dante's Peak, in that Armageddon is about an asteroid, but it also has like a great cast. It's a lot of fun. It's not overly self-serious. Deep Impact, about an asteroid, but good cast, much more somber, much more self-serious, just like Dante's Peak takes itself a lot more seriously than Volcano.
Yeah, which studios did which of the four of those? I'm just wondering if like it was Deep Impact and Dante's Peak by the same studio and then Armageddon and Volcano by the same, or if this is just a parallel that I'm just making up.
Well, Volcano was 20th Century Fox, and let's see what Dante seems like maybe Universal. Let's see if I'm right about that. I'm just guessing here.
Paramount, maybe?
It is Universal. Look at that.
Oh, you're so smart.
Like, it seems like a Universal movie for sure.
I just watched it the other day and I should be able to recall.
Let me see. Armageddon does strike me kind of as a Fox movie, but maybe Sony. So let's check out Armageddon. This was Touchstone, which I think was a subsidiary of Disney. It's a Bruckheimer film production, but Touchstone, which I think was the Disney distributor. And then Deep Impact is, I don't know, it feels like a Columbia picture, but that was Paramount. Okay, well, there's a mountain involved, so.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, there's more than just, two studios, obviously. So it was pretty far-fetched of me to think that could have been a parallel that I could have drawn. But
no, it actually makes a lot of sense that like these two studios kind of maybe have some whispers going back and forth, because the story with Dante's was that they knew that Volcano was in production. And they're like, well, we're going to get ours done first. So we're going to have more success. People are going to hate on Volcano later. But, Volcano still was successful, not widely successful. It cost almost $100 million back then, which seems like a ton of money for that movie then. And it only grossed worldwide 122. So like it made enough to make its money back. But if it's 1997 and you've already seen Dante's Peak, like, are you going to go see Volcano if you're not hugely invested in either Tommy Lee Jones, the idea of it being Los Angeles, or are like a disaster movie junkie, which at the time I don't feel like disaster movies were as numerous as they are. I mean, like Twister comes around in the 90s as well, but it feels like
Twister.
Yeah, it feels like late 90s from like sort of like the early double aughts to 2010 was disaster movie prime time, where there's so many of them, and then there's like spin-offs that are made like straight to video kind of disaster movies as well. Looks like 116 million for Dante's, but only grossed back 178 worldwide. So not widely more successful than Volcano by any measurable metric, I think.
It's funny because I don't remember Dante's Peak from when it was released. I don't think I went to see that one in theaters. I think I caught that one after the fact. But I do remember Volcano as like this big deal. But I mean, that could just be because I saw one and I didn't see the other. But I know I saw Dante's Peak very shortly thereafter. So maybe, I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe I did see it in the theaters and it just didn't make as much of an impact. But yeah, I don't know.
That self-serious nature. It's like, yeah, because it plays like, hey, we're a drama where the volcano is the antagonist versus like, hey, this is basically a comedy that we're going to frame as like an action sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, I think the plot being kind of more unique made Volcano more memorable to me.
Yeah, and I think visually too, like setting it in Los Angeles versus setting it in a fairly like rural setting where it's like, hey, there's a small town, it's at the base of a mountain, the mountain's going to explode. It's workable, but it's not visually challenging in the same way that like, hey, we need to shut down Wilshire and
Sure.
launch a bunch of fireballs, and oh yeah, by the way, we need a fleet of fire trucks to be constructed, and we need to have all this cast. We are gonna melt the La Brea tar pits. We're gonna do all this crazy stuff in LA. Very different settings for like how that shapes the tone of the film. Like Dante's Peak, sort of like a volcano, is like building up pressure over time, right?
Ah,
Where
clever.
you've got Pierce Brosnan coming in with his rugged jawline, and he is like, hey, there's gas coming out of this thing, and this gas shouldn't be here. Meanwhile, the bureaucracy of it is telling him, no, everything's fine. There's not going to be an eruption. So he's like the one man that knows that something bad's going to happen. And so we sort of like, we're starting to chip away at the bureaucracy that's denying the reality. And with the help of the mayor, they're able to like evacuate the town mostly safely, other than like grandma who melts in a lake of acid, which is horrible. But it is a very memorable scene in that movie. But yeah, it's all
about her sacrifice and redemption. So
yeah. And that movie sort of just like it builds to the eruption. And then in this movie, like the lava's there pretty early on, like within half an hour, like lava's everywhere. And even when you think the movie's about to be over, they're like, yeah, we beat it. And it's like, no, you didn't. We're going to have a whole nother half an hour of a secondary problem you have to deal with. And now you really have to like be more creative and figure out we got to demolish a building for some reason. And it's going to be that asshole's building.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it has to be. Right. And yeah, he plays such a good prick in
he does.
That movie.
He is an extreme prick.
Is he in real life?
No. Oh, sorry.
In the movie?
Please.
John
No,
Corbett?
it just meant that character. And like when he's talking to his doctor wife and he's like, God knows what those people are coughing up on you. And it's like, yeah, definitely knocked down his building. Actually, I read something that like originally the character was supposed to be inside the building when it when it was knocked down. And then they were like, maybe this is too far. But you know, maybe it wasn't.
I'm safe up here in my ivory tower,
Exactly.
overlooking Wilshire.
I've got a good view from up here, and it's nothing bad shall happen to me because I have lots of money.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he treats his wife like with such little respect. Like, oh, I want you treating tennis elbow, not gunshot wounds. It's like, what if she wants to treat gunshot wounds? She's a doctor. She clearly wants to help people. And then in the midst of her trying to help people, you're like, let's get the hell out of here. Let them all die. So I'm glad that she just sort of like blows him off in that moment. And, you know, I think other movies probably would have killed him. Like, he's like, fine, I'll fucking leave then. He tries to drive away. And it's like, oops, lava's around the
Lava
corner.
bomb.
Yeah. Well, you know, we can imagine that the lava
Exactly.
got him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the special effects in this movie are, I think, exceedingly well handled for what it is. I think it has that as a major advantage over Dante's Peak.
I was thinking about, I wished that this was in 4K because I wanted to see some like 4K lava. I thought it would be pretty visually stunning.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. We get 3 years and then it's the 30th. And maybe there's a 4K blue
That
release.
would be nice.
Yeah, because all the lava for the most part is practical, and it's actually the moments where they do it digitally because they don't have a choice where it looks the weakest. But when they use the miniatures and they have some of the wide shots of the lava and they sort of like superimpose that, it looks really good.
Yeah, practical effects for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm glad that they invested in the airplane hangar and the whole miniature city. And there's definitely moments where you can tell that it's miniatures, but it still looks better than when they decided to VFX the lava in there. And, most of the lava bombs for the most part, yeah, sure, when it's flying through the sky, like, yeah, we're not going to actually like catapult a fiery lava bomb across La Cienega, but we're gonna at least make the explosion count. So like when they land, we're
Yeah.
using real pyro. I mean, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is this fire truck explosion that happens. It's driving away, lava bomb incoming, hits the truck, and then the guy that's standing on top of the fire truck gets like catapulted off. And so
Yeah.
it's like you have to do real stunt work, real pyro. You really got to like flip the fire truck in that moment. Yeah, really like just fun filmmaking stuff. So I imagine if you were working on this movie, you're probably having a ton of fun designing all of this stuff.
Yeah, man, I wish I could go back in time and be on location for some of these things.
That's how I felt with Waterworld, and when we were talking about the development of this movie and sort of what was happening behind the scenes with Waterworld and how everything was getting built, how they're like flying everything in, they're like renting all this space, they're investing all this money in Hawaii's infrastructure by like hiring the welders to build all these things. If you, I was like explaining, like, if you're on set working on that side of things before filming starts, you're like, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be the best movie ever made. And you walk out onto this gigantic practical set that was built and it's incredible. And the first day of filming is we're filming this giant set piece that we built. So in your brain, as someone that worked on the movie, you're like, I buy into this. I am 100% on board. And then all of the negative press, everything else that happens after that, editing room, yada, yada. You get to the point where it's a finished product. And now people who are not involved are like, well, this movie sucks.
Yeah, and
And
it becomes a joke, and that
yeah.
would be heartbreaking.
Yeah, so for something like this to be like, hey, we really built all this stuff. We really melted as much stuff as we possibly could. We used as much fire as we possibly could. I mean, it gives this movie a look that I think really makes it stand out against something like Dante's, which is kind of gray, to be fair. Like, it's a fairly muted color palette. Whereas this is like, as soon as the sun sets and the lava is the primary light source throughout most of the night, you really get some great visuals with that gigantic lava flow and the way the fire sort of like lights everything up with the ash covering everything. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, pretty, very pretty.
Excuse me. Um, so we get, I had talked about in Dante's, we get the grandma burning herself in the lake of acid. Here we get kind of the same thing with John Carroll Lynch in the subway. His shoes are melting.
Yes,
And
and he's reciting the Lord's Prayer.
It's not going to save you now, sir, but he's walking towards the back of the subway train and you got the lava flow coming out from under the train. He's clearly not going to be able to make it. He doesn't even like try to throw the guy, but as soon as his legs touch the lava, he military presses the guy over the top of his head and throws him. So he had the strength to throw this guy the entire time, but never tried to throw him until he's waist deep in liquid hot magma.
Well, I don't know. I don't think he would have been able to throw him quite far enough if he had just tried to toss him from a train. I think he needed to get that extra 4 feet or whatever from sacrificing himself. It's a great redemption arc for him. Because at first he's like, I don't want the headache of trying to close all these things down. Like, we got to keep the subway open because otherwise I'm going to get, a lot of people are going to complain. And then in the end, he's like, I got to save this no-name guy who just wants to be a screenwriter. And,
Yeah, he's going to write the story of your life as a hero in the future. That'll be Volcano 2. Significantly more boring movie, but
exactly.
Yeah, it is redemption for like a character that we get to see be kind of a dick the entire time. Whereas like when you get Michael Rispoli sort of acknowledging that, hey, we're stuck in the building, we don't really have a choice other than to say like, yes, detonate it, and we're clear, right? Like they have to sacrifice in that moment. But he's like, yeah, no man left behind, and then okay, suicide pact. I get it. You have to like give them the heroic moment. There really isn't an option there other than like not blowing it up, but you don't have the resources and the manpower to go and actually save these two. So it's kind of like a sweet moment of self-sacrifice between first responders, which I mean, we've seen in years since this that has been the case in real life many times.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of like great human moments in Volcano that like when I was a kid I was very on board with, and I was like, "Oh, everybody working together for a common goal." And like the line at the end where the little kids like, "Look at their faces. They all look the same." And I was like, "Wow, what a beautiful moment." Now that I'm older and a little more cynical, I'm like, I'm not sure that that would be the truth. I think like half of LA would be like, there is no volcano.
Yeah, we're in the valley. Like that volcano's not going to come to us, so I'm not driving to the west side to help deal with this because traffic's going to be worse than ever. I had to drive to the west side yesterday, and I was trying to explain. I was talking to Seth last night, and I was like, I'm trying to explain. If I showed you a picture of the freeway with me sitting in traffic, like there's no reason for there to be traffic. It's the middle of the day. Everybody should already be at work. Why am I in stop and go traffic? And it's just like the volume of people here is so much that trying to go, I think it's maybe 11 miles away, took me basically an hour to
Yeah.
go on the freeway. It's like it's such a short journey, mileage wise, but to actually get there is such a hassle. You can't get there quickly. And, so I understand. Like if you were living in the valley and there was a volcano out on Wilshire, you'd be like,
That's
fine.
Wilshire's problem.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah, it is. That's the LAPD Wilshire district's problem. That's not us. Take some water from that boiling hot lake and throw it on the volcano there.
Exactly. I also feel like rather than the National Guard like coming out to help solve the problem, they'd probably like be protecting all the stores from looters. Like,
yeah. We didn't
that-
really we got like a brief moment of that of like, oh, someone's looting something, but that didn't like stay very long. Like it touches on some of that stuff. Cause I mean, obviously this is 97. This is after the Rodney King riots in the early 90s. So there is that sort of like history already that comes with Los Angeles of like that very dark experience. And this movie doesn't really want to go there, but it kind of does.
Yeah,
Because there's the whole like the racist cop who's like, I'm gonna handcuff this guy and basically just let him burn in lava because he's black, and then he all of a sudden is like, well, my partner isn't as racist as me, or is maybe not racist at all, and he uncuffs the guy, and then we cure racism by lifting this K rail together, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, this is very loosely handled right here, but. Look, I get that they're making the effort and I kind of appreciate it, but
yeah,
I
the
don't know.
resolution of that, like when at the very end when the guy's like, "Hey, they need some help over on Stanley," and his partner's like, "You're a good man." I'm like, that's like the least he could have done. Are you really, you're really giving him a little too much credit there? I mean, like
way too much.
It felt like it was trying to be that huge feel good moment, and I'm like, that's kind of anemic, that story there.
In my notes, I was like, did this volcano just solve LAPD racism? I don't think so, but look, they tried to throw that in there, but it would have made more sense to just like have the cops sort of like have strife over it, or just like a look of acknowledgement. There doesn't have to be this condolences to the racist guy to be like, you're a good man for uncuffing the guy that you never should have cuffed in the first place and letting him go home and try to like save his neighborhood. It's like, no, you're not a good man for that, first of all. And secondly, why even have the other cop be like a ballast point to this character, if only to then turn around and like pat him give him an attaboy for finally like, oh, look, he overcame racism. You're such a good boy. Like, no, sir. Like, just uncuff him and let him go and be like, come on, man, we need to focus on this. And that's all you need.
Yeah. That whole thing was like I don't know. It's always very frustrating when I watch it. I'm like, dude, like there are bigger problems. Don't handcuff this guy. Don't what are you trying to do? Take him downtown? Great line, by the way.
Mhm.
Um, and it just, it's like, erg. But in a way, there's something real about it too that's kind of problematic, extremely problematic.
Yeah, I think on the front end, yes. I think that like
Yeah.
speaks to the history of LAPD racism in that he's going to cuff this guy and like not listen to him and basically put this guy needlessly in danger because of his own preconceived notions. I get that. It's the sort of like the tidying up of putting the bow on at the end of it that doesn't really walk it back any. And
Mhm.
I think the highest ranking police officer that we see in person is Keith David's character. So it's like your commanding officer is black, but you're going to then, like, when you have the opportunity, be a racist prick in the middle of a crisis where you don't have time to be dealing with this. I just, I think the resolution probably should have changed. And for the most part, I feel the movie's like fairly well written for a disaster movie. It's not something where I feel like, oh, the script is really what hung this movie up. I'm like, okay, maybe we don't need a whole like second lava problem after the first
I
problem.
love
Like,
it.
you could choose one or the other, or maybe I don't know. I mean, it extends
I
the
like
movie
the
by
up
a
and
good.
down. I
uh,
mean, it's not like the movie's long, man.
it's not.
You'd cut out like at least half an hour if you cut out that second lava problem.
This is true. I mean, look, I like movies that are less than 90 minutes. This is just a character flaw of mine. But I like because I like the idea of like having to figure out how to divert the volcano or the lava flow to the ocean. Like to me, I like that. Um, the K rails and like that temporary measure of like this false victory, I kind of like that as well. Uh, but it also feels like that kind of is like the way that the movie is structured is like we're getting to this point and we finally like stop the flow, which is what they were focused on. And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, all of your efforts above ground didn't really mean anything because the lava has just continued to flow underground the entire time. And you would have known this had you listened to the scientist that you brought in to be your specialist in the first place. But instead, you're trying to save all these storefronts. You're trying to protect all this property like the LAPD does.
Yeah, I feel like it also gives Anne Heche a lot more to do. You
That's
know,
true.
she gets a chance to step away from this situation where she's not really able to contribute anything. Go do her sciencey stuff, figure out that there's a bigger problem, and then Tommy Lee has to come in and help figure out how to solve the problem. Which I don't know, feels pretty real to me. Like usually it's not just like one issue and then everything's right as rain. There's you think you've got it solved, and then there's more to do. So
Yeah, it's
felt right to
interesting.
me.
It's interesting that they choose to separate the two of them at that point as well. In that, like, she literally like, well, I can't like help you here anymore, so I'm gonna go do my thing, you do your thing, and then we'll reconvene at the end when needed, and you'll grab your arm and I'll give you a little like brotherly hug here. Um, but it gives Tommy time to focus on like he needs to find his daughter, right? Because everything has changed where we worked so hard to stop this, but then the lava flow of course is going to explode at Cedar Sinai where we've been
Right where
sending
they are.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So conveniently we all have to race to the hospital where the rest of the story is about to unfold and like his daughter, she seems smart in moments, but then in
Mhm.
other moments, I'm like, she's just not moving. Like there's fireballs all over the place.
Well, that feels real to me too. She's like paralyzed with terror. This is she's 13 and all this stuff. She's not even from
Yeah.
LA, man. She's
That's true.
she's from the Midwest and it's just thrust into this exciting and crazy situation and she thinks she's so seen it all and like I'm a teenager and like whatever, I'm gonna get my nose pierced, but then there's a volcano and daddy help me.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like what age she was supposed to be, and then when I realized like she's 13, I was like, yeah, but she's got to be like maybe 16
Yeah.
playing this younger role. So like I'm looking at her thinking that she's sort of like almost of like learner's permit driving age, and then she's playing a younger character. So I'm just like, just move. Like the lava is coming towards you. Like just walk in the other direction. I get that there's fire everywhere, but the lava's only coming from one side, and you can move from that.
That's
Daddy,
true.
Daddy has to go pick her up and jump on top of the car. And I'm like, is Tommy Lee Jones capable of making this jump? I don't know how old he is when he's playing this character. That's kind of a decent leap, holding somebody else's entire body weight in that moment. And it would have been interesting to see him like blow out his knee or something, and then he has to deal with that for the rest of the movie. But yeah, it gives him the moment where he can be invested in saving her full time. It's like he's back on dad duty at that point. And then you get this scene where he's like sprinting across the city as the building is collapsing.
Yes.
And like all
very
he does
dramatic.
is tackle her. Like he doesn't really like give her any additional safety.
I know. I mean, like all she had to do was like he could have just yelled out, "Step to your left." But that is an epic, like shot of him running and then the buildings behind him falling down. And, you got to make Tommy Lee Jones run in this movie. Like there are multiple times where he just like points at people and he goes, "Follow me." And then they take off running. And like, you don't really know where they're running to or what they're going to do when they get there, but they've got to run. They've got to run to get there.
I mean, hey, at least there is a sense of urgency within these like city government organizations, because that's like the opposite of the way that it really is. There's no urgency in city government, especially not with emergencies like this. So I'm glad that Tommy leads the way.
So many moving parts and things that have to get done to solve these problems when they're like, okay, the lava is going to punch through in 30 minutes and we've got to do all these things. I'm like, that could never happen, even if they had 3 hours, but it's great for a movie.
Yeah, like the logistics of Los Angeles. Like I told you, I was like, just getting from point A to point B takes forever. I had to drive from my place to Northridge, and there's not really like it could take like the freeway, go up and around and back and down and like kind of horseshoe it. And I'm like, okay, that's still X amount of time. But just taking side streets, I think it was less than 12 miles, maybe like 11, 10 miles. It took an hour just to take side streets, because like the way that the city is structured, the timing of the lights and everything, the way that like, hey, we have don't park here signs, but people are parked there. And now like everything is gridlocking. So yeah, logistically being able to maneuver vehicles quickly, you probably would get around faster in this emergency just by running everywhere.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many abandoned vehicles on the road. It's going to be a nightmare. You're going to have so many people that are also trying to flee their neighborhoods nearby that we don't really get a ton of. Like that the black character who's in handcuffs, that's played Marcelo Bedford. I didn't realize he had a character name in this, but it's Kevin.
And yeah, I noticed that too.
I was like, did they ever give him a name? I don't think so. But he is like basically on a neighborhood that's close enough where it was walkable to these emergency services. And so they're talking about, hey, if we don't stop the lava flow here, down the line, it's all homes and neighborhoods. But they're
not helping.
Yes, adjacent
home and neighborhood
to this,
that's already...
there's plenty of homes and neighborhoods around that area. And it's not just maybe residential at that point, but that doesn't mean anybody doesn't live there. So like this weird idea that there wouldn't be all those people that were on Stanley Street just like getting in their cars and trying to get the hell out of there. Like we're just going to all move into the street and watch our houses burn and hope the fire department shows up. Like those people have TVs as well. They know a volcano is erupting. They know lava's out in the streets. Like those people would be driving. Like, we have a lot of wildfires out here. And of course, there's a wildfire, everything's burning. There's mandatory evacuations. It wouldn't just be like, okay, well, you guys stay in your cul-de-sac and burn. So yeah, getting around on foot is probably the fastest way to go. So that's maybe accidentally accurate, but I'll take it in that moment.
The houses on fire on Stanley Street bring they result in one of the best dog moments in cinema, with the lava coming in through the house and the woman outside screaming, "My dog's in there!" And then the dog saves his bone and goes out through the dog door.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feel good moment.
And it's like a cute little dog too. So
it is, yes, like Jack Russell Terrier, smart little guy. Starts out by barking at the lava and then decides, "Fuck this."
Right? I know you have like, there's moments in the movie where Tommy Lee Jones is like, it's so hot that like he can't be near it. I like that he looks down the hole and sees the lava and he's like, I wonder how hot that is. He puts his hand over it. Oh, that burns. It's like, Tommy, you were already down in the hole where your suit was melting before this. You know that lava is hot. Even if you're inexperienced with volcanoes, you know that lava is hot at that point. You don't need to reach your hand out. But then again, I'm the kind of idiot that's on like, hey, how warm is that? I'm just a little curious. Oh, 3rd degree burns. Oops. My bad.
I do love that he reaches his hand out and pulls it back because it's so hot. And then like half a second later, he leans over and his face is under like but no.
But I guess
we
it was hot
gotta
enough
see
to
it.
melt my face.
Exactly.
And it's hot, but
And it
not that
was,
hot.
but not anymore.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, is there anything that you want to talk about before we get to Critics Corner?
I think I've mostly shoehorned everything in.
All right. Well, then let's go to Critics Corner and we'll see for real what all the horrible things that were said about this movie back, well, most of them probably around that time. It has a Metascore of 52 overall. We're going to start with a 30 on the board. It's the lowest score on the board. This is Mark Savlov from the Austin Chronicle. Crucial to the nature of the disaster film, and something that Irwin Allen knew so very well, is that films of this sort depend on an emotional hook, a peg of normalcy to hang the chaos from. Volcano offers no such hook, and as a result, it plays like some La Brea dinosaur risen from the tar, all effects and no heart. Wah, wah.
That's awfully specific. I don't know. I don't know that I agree. I feel like there's a lot of normalcy that they show. They just show it for a bunch of different characters. I don't know.
Yes, I like, if you're looking at Dante's Peak, right? This is stepdad coming in. He's got this very romantic relationship with Linda Hamilton's character, and he's like surrogate father to the kids, and like it's very much more so hinged on your connection to their survival as like a family unit. Where here it's like, yeah, he is with his daughter, but then he's kind of like ignoring her for half the movie until it's like, oh crap, like my daughter's actually in danger. I got to be a good dad now, kind of thing. So it doesn't hinge itself on its weighty emotionalness. It is like, hey, this is a fun disaster movie. It's going to be very effects heavy. And Tommy Lee Jones is going to be a relatable enough character to like get us across the finish line. We don't need the romance between him and Heche to like get us to that point. We don't need him and his daughter like basically surviving the city melting together to get us to that point. That's not what this movie is. So I feel like I understand what Mr. Savlov is saying, but I feel like he's sort of framing the movie from a place of this is what I want it to be, or this is the way that it has been, and therefore this is the way that this movie should be and fails to be.
Yeah, it's almost like he's saying this movie isn't formulaic enough for me.
Right? Yes, because that's what all movie critics want, is to go in and watch the exact same disaster movie over and over again. Okay, well, we'll move on. There's Roger Ebert. I mean, he gave it a 38 and said it's a surprisingly cheesy disaster epic. I don't know. It's only one sentence. It's not great, but I always read Raj. And surprisingly cheesy? I don't know about that. I mean, this movie's called Volcano. And
it was exactly what I expected. Exactly the level of cheese I thought it would be going in.
Yeah, Roger, did you read the tagline on the poster that says the coast is toast? Because I feel like if you did, you would expect this to be cheesy. But moving on, we've got 3 50s on the board. So we've got Salon, San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. So you can pick whichever one of those you want.
Tell me what the Chronicle says.
All right, San Francisco Chronicle, Mick LaSalle. He says, with its fake-looking technology and empty characters, Volcano eventually becomes as obvious as its what-if premise. So he says it is kind of structurally a basic disaster movie and is bad for that. So the opposite of what Savlov said, but also hates it.
I mean, I guess you can't fault anyone their opinion, but I don't see it that way.
You know that movie Volcano I went to see? It was so obvious. There was a volcano.
I know, man. Like, I was waiting for the twist, but turns out it was actually a volcano.
Right? Okay. I mean, I guess like if you go into this blind and you're like, hey, I'm going to see a movie, I don't know what it is, and then maybe that's what it is. Okay, but there's still a title card that tells you the movie is Volcano. So there's no excuse to not really understand how obvious this movie is. But he gave it a 50. So he's just like, whatever. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's a
Gotta
movie
say
called
something.
Volcano. Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to write a review of this film against my will. So we'll climb the board. We got two 60s. We got the Chicago Reader and the New York Times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the New York Times is, there's generally too much weight put on their opinion, in my opinion, but I still want to hear what they have to say.
Well, this is Janet Maslin, who is a very well-regarded critic for the New York Times. She's been doing it for a long time. I disagree with her quite a lot, and I end up reading her quite a lot on here, but I do follow her on Twitter. She says, in Volcano, the thrills are so well wrought that they eventually lose their novelty and become numbing. End full quote. So wait a second. In this movie, the thrills are so good that them doing it repeatedly is bad? What? Well,
Yeah.
that's what she
And
gave from the New
what
York
score
Times.
was that she?
Gave it a 66 out of 10.
Yeah, that feels like a little much more negative thing to say than the score, but
She's
I
like
don't know.
one too many lava bombs. Okay, like 7 lava bombs was fine. 8 was too many. Like seeing the lava in the street for 5 minutes, great. Seeing it in the street for the whole movie, not so
Six and a
great.
half minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, so this is again is something that like I feel the detachment between sort of the critical response to something like this or something like Waterworld, where the people who are involved in making the practical effects side of this, you want to showcase that. Like that's what this movie is. Like you spend all this time and effort being able to make this look as good as possible. That's what this movie is. So to go into it as a critic and be like, "Oh, I don't even like have the capacity to recognize that this is what the movie is doing." And even though they do it well, they do it so much that I am taking that as a negative, but I'm also going to give it a slightly positive review. It's very strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, forget the New York Times. We've left the yellow territory and we're climbing up into the green. We've got Owen Gleiberman at Entertainment Weekly gave it a 67, which is just in the green, but it's in there. He said, "I had a pretty good time at Volcano. The reason I didn't have a better time is that the characters aren't just schlocky, they're boring." Okay, I could see that. I mean, like, none of the characters are really amazing for me, but I think we get so many good actors that even though the characters are not great, the actors carry it for me because they're still good.
I mean, I don't know. I really, really like the two main characters, Mike Rourke and Jesus now, fuck, I can't remember her name.
Amy
Amy
something.
Barnes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I mean, like he's no nonsense, and I'm going to get the job done, but he does it in a really charming way, you know. And then she's I'm smart and I'm clever and I'm not going to take any shit, and also kind of funny about it. And I don't know, I love them.
Yeah. Like
So
I think they're both good enough actors to take those characters and really like infuse them with a lot more personality maybe than is on the page. But that's why you pay Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche in this case. And I mean, like Don Cheadle, like this is kind of a very easy role for him. Like this isn't nearly like his best work, but Don Cheadle is so good that
yeah,
he still makes that character a lot of fun. I think same thing with Lynch in that
ugh, love him.
yeah, like this is kind of like a basic role for him. It doesn't require too much, but like he gets to be kind of a prick and have fun with it, and his screen presence is just strong enough to make it count. And I think that's for me what really works with all of the cast in this is that they're good enough performers where you could have written nothing other than the character description. I think we still probably get pretty decent characterizations from these guys. Okay, so let's go to real views. They got a 75 on the board with James Berardinelli. He says, in fact, this is one of the best pure disaster movies ever made.
Ooh.
Not that it has much competition. Congratulations to director Mick Jackson for a job well done.
Doesn't have much competition?
Yeah, I mean,
is he saying there aren't very many disaster movies in the world?
If he wrote this in 97, maybe thinking of it as like a pure disaster movie, like, because when you think about Dante's Peak, yes, disaster movie, yes, volcano movie, but much more family unit drama as well contained within that. So where it puts its emphasis maybe is sort of how he frames this. And maybe he's just like, hey, I haven't seen that many movies that just like to have fun, being disaster flicks with good effects. Like I can't explain it, but he gave it a 75. So let's just take let's take the 3 out of 4.
I'll take the win.
Yeah, exactly. And we end with an 80. And typically I don't read this many reviews at this section of the show, but this is from the Los Angeles Times. And Kenneth Turan gave it an 80. He says, I don't know if this is clipped, but it says, but a great sense of pace is a wonderful thing. And director Jackson and his crew, parentheses, who made good use of handheld and Steadicam shots and reportedly averaged an impressive 30 to 40 camera setups a day, end parentheses, move so quickly from shot to shot and location to location that viewers have limited time to dwell on the film's predictable implausibilities. And so this is someone who is from Los Angeles, or at least lives in Los Angeles, writes for the LA Times, and understands exactly how difficult what is happening to make this movie work is actually going on. So this is someone who's like giving credit where credit is due and still having fun with the fun aspects of the movie. As you should. That's what it's for.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I all of a sudden have forgotten every word you just said from that review, but I liked it when I was hearing it.
Lots of editing choices are well made, and lots of camera setups, and
I mean, you know, it's great to have that recognition of like the filmmaking difficulties, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's part of where the disconnect between the critical reception for movies and the actual investment in films gets left behind. Like, you know, the reason the writer's strike was such a big deal is because so many people were out of work that like you wouldn't expect to be out of work. It's like it's not just affecting the writers, like it's not just affecting the actors and the executives and the people at the top of the food chain with the recognizability. It's like my friends work in the industry and they were out of work for a long time because one of them is like doing props, one of them is a camera assistant. So it's like that trickles down, costumes, all the people involved in this. It takes a lot of work. And to do something like this in LA and to have 30 to 40 camera setups a day in order to film this where you can like cut it together afterwards to sort of give you all the coverage of LA that you need is super, super impressive. And so like, even though he's saying that this film is predictable, it's not shot in a way that feels lethargic. Like it has energy. It sort of takes you around LA in a way that makes sense for what the movie wants to do. And, you know, it's well paced. Like you said, it's an hour 45. So it's not exceedingly long. I think if I'm not mistaken, within the first 30 minutes, shit is hitting the fan already. I mean, the guy gets burned in there within like the first 20 minutes, maybe. And then like Anne Heche shows up and now we've got lava on the ground pretty quickly after that. So it doesn't waste time getting to the point. Like, you know, the opposite of Dante's, where we know that there's this ticking time bomb that's about to happen. And when shit hits the fan, it's going to be bad. But most of the movie is about the countdown to that happening, not about the actual explosion. So I like that these movies exist as opposites for each other.
Yeah, it's very much, you know, there's always something happening and it maintains my interest the entire time. And they do a really good job of like trying to do some like explanation of science stuff while I don't know, while not letting it get boring. I don't know. It's I mean, frankly, I grew up with this movie, so maybe I don't see it the way somebody who just sits down and watches it as an adult would, but it entertains me the whole way through. So
Yeah, I had a good time with it. Like I didn't take a lot of notes because I was just kind of having fun and just enjoying it. I was like, yeah, there's a couple things here and there where I want to make sure I don't forget this. But even the thing about the dude with the comb over was something that I didn't write down, and I was like, well, I hope my memory's good enough because I'm not taking this down as a note. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably fall asleep and forget it, and I didn't. So I'm glad that like even the minutia like that still was able to hold on.
yeah, I knew it so well that I had to sort of take a step back when I was watching it and be like, okay, don't just like experience it and like watch it passively like you usually do. Like pause it and question everything. And so like one of these rewatches that I did in preparation for this, I was like pausing it every like 20 seconds and taking notes and like just trying to take a step back and it was fun because like I said I've seen it so many times that it's just I know it so well. I mean, like I feel like I could recite it. That it could be like Stephanie on stage doing Volcano.
Hey, one woman show. You gonna play Tommy Lee and Anne Heche in
Heck
this?
yeah. Gotta flex my acting chops, man.
Well, what you can do, I don't know if you've ever seen Last Black Man in San Francisco, but there's a scene where he's sort of like doing a one person show, but he's painted in half down the middle. So as he turns, like he's playing the different characters. I mean, you would have to like cover a lot of characters that way. There'd be some, you need some help with the costume changes, but
Puppets, that's what I do.
yeah, there you go. Get a whole group of puppeteers together and reenact Volcano. Um, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Volcano was a lot of fun. I know I already asked you if we like crossed over into any territory that you wanted to get into that we didn't cover, and I think you gave me the thumbs up that we're okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got it. I think I
Okay. So we've talked a lot about Dante's Peak, which is sort of like the easiest straight line comparison. I mean, they came out the same year. They're both Volcano movies. There's a lot of reasons to compare these two films, but for people who maybe haven't seen either of them, what's a good gateway drug type of film for Volcano if you didn't see Dante's Peak yet? Or if Dante's didn't exist, we'll put it that way.
So like what's a good comparison to Volcano other than Dante's Peak? Is that kind of like what you're asking?
Yeah, so like if somebody has never seen Volcano, what's a movie that you're like, hey, if you like this movie, you'll probably like Volcano.
I don't know, man. That's a tough question because it's one of those things where like if a movie's not in my mind, I'm not going to be able to recall it. So all I'm thinking about now are like Daylight, Twisters, or not Twisters, Twister. Haven't seen the sequel yet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Twister's a good one. It's right around this time. It's a disaster film. You have like couple like I mean the cast is actually excellent in Twister, and a lot of people don't really realize how good that cast was, and they're all having a lot of fun. And I mean that's probably a movie that's sort of like bad movie territory, but I feel like it's as good of a disaster movie about tornadoes as you could realistically make at the time.
yeah, I was trying to, go a little more into like, well, Twister is like, kind of a not nearly as self-contained as Volcano. Like, is there another disaster movie that's like contained within a city and it's like kind of unexpected? And so I think I was trying to like just go way too serious with trying to find a comparison. But I mean, yeah, Twister, fun,
All right.
good cast, got some disaster, got some asshole characters. Like there's high stakes.
And it's got a modern retelling coming out in a couple of months, so you can start there and work your way back.
There we go.
Yeah, I had to think because there's some really like cheesy bad versions of this movie that's like Eruption in LA and like LA on fire, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do either of those. And then I think of something like Day After Tomorrow, or what's the other one, 2012,
Yeah.
that came out around the same time as well. And I think I'm gonna go with another Volcano movie that is not necessarily like this, but it's Pompeii from I want to say the 2000s. It is the one with Jon Snow, Kit Harington.
I haven't seen it.
Emily Browning, 2014. So this is like Gladiator meets Volcano, and it's as ridiculous as it sounds, but the cast is really solid up front. And I mean, Pompeii is kind of like a historical volcano event. So if you like the lava stuff that's going on here, then I think maybe Pompeii would be up your alley. And it's newer and maybe more accessible than this. So for some of the younger audience that most likely doesn't listen to this show anyway, because we're talking about movies from 30 years ago. They're like, what is that?
Oh man, I can't. 30 years ago. Ugh. It makes me feel very old.
Well, we're the
But
same age, so
I
try
know we
not to
are.
feel as old.
I know. It is fun to look back on a movie that you have so much history with, um, and kind of like try to see it from a new perspective and talk about it in depth with somebody else that knew it from childhood. It's been a good time.
It has been. I'm really glad that you brought this to my attention. I know you had reached out to me about a couple of movies, and I mean, I really like Daylight. It is more self-serious than this, but it's Sylvester Stallone in his heyday as an action star. It reminds me kind of like of Cliffhanger in that way too, where it's like a little atypical for Stallone, but still really banks on his star power and his quality as a leading man. So Daylight's a really fun one. Maybe we talk about that at some point in the future, but I'll have to do my math homework on that one and see if it falls into my clutches because I try to at least only talk about movies that are below a certain threshold that
Right.
sort of deserve reappraisal. And I think with 90s movies, especially, we look at something like Volcano. It's like, oh, this has got, it's basically a 5 out of 10 type of movie, according to most metrics. I would suggest that it is better than that because it knows what it is. And I think that's kind of the rub when it comes to movies is like, for me, it's always what is the concept of the movie and how well do I think that was executed? And that's sort of the scale. And this movie is a fun disaster movie about a volcano in Los Angeles. And the movie that we get is exactly that. So, as that, I think it's very well done. If you look at it on the scale of like all movies ever invented, of course, like Volcano's not like a legacy kind of masterpiece movie to most people, but I think it has longevity, and I think the further we get away from it, like you said, when we're getting up to this 30-year anniversary coming up here in a couple of years, if you really were to show this in 4K, you might actually have a new appreciation for it. And now that Anne Heche has passed away, it was interesting to go back and look at this from like her early career and see like what she went on to do beyond this, and just really sort of lament her loss and knowing that like she really was a good performer that gave a lot and did a lot of work too. So nice to see her like have this and just like remember her fondly for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely I think of her very fondly when especially when I watch something like this. And 6 Days, 7 Nights, that's another one of my favorites of hers. Her and Harrison Ford. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, the one that I watched not too long ago, I think it was called Catfight, the one with her and Sandra Oh. And they just get into like a brutal fist fight that lasts the whole movie. It's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. And they're both really good in it. And it really is sort of like about the loss of sort of friendship and like holding on to grudges that don't make sense. But like the way they just slug each other in the face in that movie is hilarious. I'm like, there'd be so much brain damage in this movie, but it is fun if you're looking for an Anne Heche vehicle. But is there anything that you want to plug while you're here? I know last time we spoke, you were maybe finishing up some cover art for a project you were working on. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, that's not still not quite finished. So so no, don't have anything to nothing to plug. Just here to enjoy myself, talk movies.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for. One of the new things I'm going to bring to the show in the future is going to call question carousel. Do you want I don't have the wheel set up yet, but do you want me to pick a question from the hat of topics and then we'll close it out with that?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. All right, here's a good one. What is a habit that you would like to get rid of and one that you would like to keep?
A habit that I would like to get rid of. Going back to sleep after I wake up.
Oh, but that's so
It's
tasty.
so it's very enjoyable, but
It is.
I overuse it.
Yeah, because
And
it's wonderful.
it is wonderful, but until you wake up again and the entire day is gone.
Yeah,
That's the problem with it.
you and I are
Yeah.
very similar, as it turns out. So, what's the habit then you want to keep then?
A habit that I want to keep. It's a very tough question for someone who hates themselves. Let's just laugh about that. Um, habit that I want to keep. Um, oh no.
I mean, you're a writer and a creative, right?
Yeah, I don't do that nearly as much
So
as
that's
I
a
should.
habit then you want to reinforce.
There you go. That's true. That's true.
All right. That's a good one. I mean, look, I am so far behind on all of my writing projects because I've decided that, hey, I should take on a fifth podcast. And this seems like a smart idea to me when I don't have time to even manage the one that I run on a regular basis now. So I understand the sort of uphill battle of, hey, I've got a lot of ideas kicking around in here. The one that I think is the one that I'm working on is never the one that my brain wants to actually work on. It's like, hey,
Sure.
guess what? I've got a better idea over here, and you should work on this one. And then in the middle of that one, it happens again. And now I'm
Yes.
working on something else. So I've got, a bunch of stories like spread out where I'm like, yeah, maybe this one's 80% done. This is like 10%. This one is like in the outline phases. This one is all theoretical. It's a nightmare, and I just wish that I had more time or some ability to stop time and just work on something until it's done and
Mhm.
then move on to the next thing.
There's always more appeal in a new project
Yeah.
than there is in one that's almost finished because there's so much more possibility in the new project. It can be anything, whereas something that's almost done, it can only be what it is.
Yeah, it's a good point. So,
But something that is finished is infinitely better than something that never gets done. So and that's that's a habit I need to transition to finishing things. Yeah.
yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Well, this is a question that I should typically ask at the beginning of the show where it's more of like it's the getting to know you phase. But, we've spoken many times at this point and you've been on the show before. So it'll be more icebreakers, I think, moving forward on the front end. Maybe I'll make my next guest do it that I record with in a few hours and be like, hey, surprise, answer this question.
There we go.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am definitely on board to talk sudden death, and I know you're not like a huge JCVD person, but I feel like by the end of this month, we might convert you into the cult of his weird stupidity. But
Yeah,
got a
I'm
bunch.
open for anything. I like discovering new loves. So this might be a new love, and sudden death sounds like just the vehicle to really get me into it.
Yeah, it's great. The good thing is that Van Damme has like 100 movies. So like any topic you could maybe think of, he's got
He's done a
one
movie.
to cover the bases. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's Die Hard set at a hockey game, but replace John McClane with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And that's your movie. I mean, that's my pitch meeting in the elevator. Like, we're gonna make this movie and this is what it is. Does it sound good? Yes, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something I want to pop on the TV right now. So you sold
Cool.
me.
Well, I've been looking for an excuse to like fit it into my schedule this month as well. I was like, if I'm ever going to watch it again, it's going to be this month. So now I have even more of a reason to do so than before. Well, I'm also trying to watch movies of his that I haven't seen. So we'll
There's
see how.
always too much to do, never enough time.
Yeah, I know. That's the worst thing about getting older. It's like, oh, there's even less time than I used to have. I should have made more of it when I was young and had plenty of it to spare. But oh well, you live and you learn. And I just need, one of those rubrics for time outlines. Here, I wake up in the morning, I do this. then I do this, and I do this, and just one foot in front of the other until something gets finished. But in the meantime, it's like, oh, I actually have to do my job, and that's, I like my job, but still, it takes away from my hobbies.
Time rubric, that is way too much pressure for me. I can't even face a to-do list if it's like a have to do today list. I have my list of like wants and like maybe I think I might try this out, and yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I know. I made a to-do list and I put like 5 things on it, and I got to 4 of them. And I was like, yeah, I'll do this other one later. And I keep forgetting, and then the first of the month happens, and I'm like, I got charged again, son of a bitch. Forgot to cancel again for like 6 months in a row. Bummer, but it's okay. It's only like $6.
Yeah, could be worse.
Still annoying. Yeah, but so that's a habit that I need to break. But yeah, until next time, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking with me today. I sure hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and hopefully you'll be there to join us for our Bloodsport conversation on Saturday.
Yeah, it's that's on my calendar.
Yeah, JCVD indoctrination weekend. Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you for having me, for putting up with me.
It's my pleasure. It's no trouble at all. And until next time, take care. Thank you to Stephanie for taking the time to join me and talk about Volcano. I had watched Dante's Peak fairly recently for a planned disaster month watch through, but Volcano was on the checklist too, so I'm really glad I got to circle back around to it. Stephanie actually recorded this episode with me before we did our sudden death episode for Jean-Claude Van Damme, so I'm excited to bring this episode to your ears. If you want to get in touch with Stephanie or myself, I have all of our contact information up in the show notes for you. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating on your podcast platform of choice and telling a friend about it. And the support page is now live over at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love or would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or at badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram. And that's love with an LUV on the socials. And until next time, take care, be well, and have fun however you get your movies.